right.
Morning.
Good morning, karibu sana watu wa Manchester United. Najua wamefurahia sana mahali muko. Congratulations. This is a Monday morning, we move on. My name is Fred Indemuli. This is the Morning Cafe, and that is as much as we'll talk about Manchester United.
Yes. Just
Mengine, mongoje salamu zenyu wakati wa Monday.
Great, kabisa. My name is Anna Odida. Karibu sana to Morning Cafe. It's a new week, and we trust that yours is off to a great start. Ours is. How is yours, Fred?
Oh yeah, great start this week. I am looking at the headlines and I'm like, hey,
a lot to tackle. Kabisa. So karibu sana. Let's take you along with us.
Yes, a quick look at the dailies, and this is basically the outlook, and I think we can just use this one. On the Star, IEBC's 5.6 million Gen Z voters to tilt 2027 elections. That is a Star. On the Standard,
Abductions fallout, and that is in regards to Justin Muturi's statement yesterday.
Yes, same story on the People Daily, why Muturi is facing the door. Clearly, it looks like he's facing the door.
Is he?
Towards the exit.
Yeah.
Anaogopa kitu mlimani ni swali kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. And I think this is the only paper without Muturi on the front page.
Yes.
Because on the Daily Nation,
Muturi takes on Ruto over abductions.
yes,
That was yesterday. Even Business Daily today.
even on the front page of the Business Daily, Muturi is still there, but the big headline there is Kenyan firms turn to cryptos for foreign supplier payments. These are just some of the local dailies, and we'll be back to take a look at them later on with this gentleman on State of the Nation, Philip Kisia, leadership and governance expert, Danson Mugatana, Senator Tana River, and Samuel Pogisio, former majority leader in the Senate, as well as former ICT minister in the Kibaki II administration. Before we take a look at the regional papers, quick highlight on what else we'll be talking about today.
All right. NTSA on road safety. We'll be taking a look at NTSA's effort in curbing road carnages and what measures they're putting in place to ensure that roads are safe enough.
I remember last week, Uganda, I think on one of the dailies, he talked about the numbers and the statistics around road carnage from last year. And I was saying that we should expect something similar during this month of January from the NTSA. They'll be telling us more on how the numbers look in as far as road accidents are concerned in Kenya.
Yep, from 9 a.m.
Yes, as I said, watu wa yoti mingine, they become very noisy today where we can't even settle here because watu walipewa penalty at there were 10 men, nini. So this gentleman will be here to take to give you some relief, to give you some time to brag, to give you that kind of feeling that you're looking for from us. Unfortunately, you'll not get. But Shutterboy and Fred Arocho will be here for Monday Blitz later on. But I'm sure they'll be focusing more on Kenya's preparedness for the CHAN 2024 and not just that noisy team. Yes. They'll be hosting Innocent Mutiso, former Harambee Stars player, in studio. Do stand by for that conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay, and as far as the dailies is concerned, let's take a look at the regional papers. We'll be back to take a look at the local ones later on. And we start off with a citizen in Tanzania.
And the story there given prominence is conclusion of LNG talks imminent. And they say investors in the proposed liquefied natural gas complex in Lindi region are optimistic that negotiations on the $42 billion, that is 106 trillion shillings, that is Tanzanian money?
Tanzanian money.
Correct. Project will be concluded early this year as both sides seek a fair deal.
Oh yes. At least they have something to look forward to. Liquefied natural gas. That is something that if at all we would have in Kenya, it would be a game changer. It will definitely be a game changer for Tanzania.
Tanzania is doing very, very well. You see, there's another headline there, why the future looks bright for Tanzania's manufacturing sector. Yes. It was agriculture, and they have something on agriculture. Avocado oil processing plants take shape in Njombe. I don't know if it is the fact that they have good news or the dailies pick positive headlines there, because there's a difference. In Kenya, you rarely get to see anything positive about it. Is there though?
I don't know. Is there anything positive? A bit of politics there on the front page of the Citizen in Tanzania. Nation marks 61st anniversary of the Zanzibar Revolution, and you can see the president of Zanzibar as well as president of Tanzania, the Republic of Tanzania there together. That's the Citizen. Still in Tanzania, tuangazie gazeti la Mwananchi, wanasema kambi kuamua Chadema. Kumbuka mwaka huu kuna uchaguzi kule Tanzania. Kwa hivyo masuala ya siasa yamepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele hapa. So wanasema mabaraza ya Bazecha ya saka uongozi mpya leo, ikielezwa yanaweza kutoa mwelekeo wa kambi la Mbowe na Lissu. Remember, chama cha upinzani kule Tanzania Chadema bado kina mshike kule ndani wakiendelea kujitayarisha kwa uchaguzi mkuu baadaye mwaka huu. Tuhuma za mizengwe, rushwa za sikika, makao makuu wajipanga kudhibiti. Askofu Bagonza ashusha waraka mzito. What happens in Tanzania is that when you read this paragraph, you basically know what the entire story is about. You don't need to read anything else. Unasikia mapinduzi ya noga Pemba. Rais wa Zanzibar Daktari Hussein Mwinyi akipunga mkono kwa salamia wananchi wakati wa maadhimisho ya miaka 61 ya mapinduzi ya Zanzibar yaliyofanyika uwanja wa Gombani kusini Pemba jana. Kulia kwake ni Rais Samia Suluhu Hassan ako hapa wa Jamhuri ya Tanzania. Najua watu wengi wa Kenya waelewi hii siasa and the geography in Tanzania that actually Zanzibar has its own president. Yes. But it's still under the Republic of Tanzania.
Yeah. Matumaini mradi wa gesi asili Lindi, we just talked about it and the Citizen. And they say here mazungumzo ya utekelezaji wa mradi wa kusindika gesi asili kwenda kwenye nini? Kwenye kimiminika, that is LNG.
Kimiminika.
All right, mkoani Lindi huenda yakafika tamati.
I think Kenyans should get used to reading such newspapers.
Yes.
Itakusaidia kwenye insha. Wasema kimiminika. Kimiminika ni vitu gani? Dude gani?
Na Kiswahili pia. Tujue Kiswahili sisi wa Kenya.
Tunangangana hapa. Kiswahili yetu mbofu. Lakini pale juu kuna habari. Maria Sarungi adaiwa kutekwa na watu wenye silaha Kenya. This is another big story, not just in Tanzania, in Kenya as well. Because the fate of this lady, this journalist, is still unknown. We do not know if she was taken back to Tanzania or she's still within Kenya's borders.
She's in Kenya.
Yes. So that story is on page 20 there, but given a highlight on the front page of this paper in Tanzania. Let's go to Uganda before we come back to...
now on the Daily Monitor, they say deleted.
One word. I love such headlines.
Short and sweet. Now, the more than 1,000 affected courses were taken down after several universities and other tertiary institutions failed to review and update them as required by the NCHE, leaving stranded thousands of students planning to pursue studies at home and abroad.
So they've deleted quite a number of courses. 1,000 courses have been deleted. So kama ulikuwa pursue Bachelor of Science in Fisheries, alafu nakuja unaambiwa no, we no longer offer that one.
Drama's MP Segirinya is laid to rest. Well, he died last week and was very much celebrated.
He was actually given a lot of prominence on the front page.
Yes.
So it's finally laid to rest, but there was some drama. And you can see that's a picture given prominence on the front page.
The AU Agriculture Summit is still going on there as well.
Day 3.
Yes.
In Kampala, Uganda. Makerere's 75th graduation kicks off. So 75th graduation.
Yes.
That's impressive. Kuna gazeti moja tuoni hapa, New Vision, lakini we know what is happening in Uganda. Let's focus now on the regional paper, that's East African. Some DRC on Uganda's case over Muhoozi X tweets. You know, the president's son, who's also the chief of defense forces in Uganda, Muhoozi Kainerugaba, was finally forced to quit social media. And he said goodbye. Because he's been tweeting or posting some things that are very controversial for someone in his position, including saying that they can take over Nairobi, he can do some very nasty things
and
to
that landed him in trouble.
Yes. Now he said something about DRC. Now even as Muhoozi left X, Congo has been rattled by his posts that Kinshasa said were demeaning and biased towards Rwanda, which it accuses of backing the M23. So you have the picture there of Muhoozi Kainerugaba and the DRC president, Felix Tshisekedi. So yes, this has been a very controversial figure. Lakini huwa naona ni kama Uganda wako na nguvu sana.
Because vitu ambazo anasema,
from where he sits, he believes they can take over and that his father is going to be the regional kingpin. Yes.
What if Muhoozi is a troublemaker? Ama tuseme is a truthful man?
That's not necessarily the truth. This is fantasy. Lakini nasikia Atijaba, which is banned in quite a number of other countries, that ilifika Uganda juzi.
Interesting.
So these are just some of the regional papers. Before we come back to the local dailies, let's take a look at the weather situation in Kenya. And yes, we start off today with taking a look at Kitui.
Kitui, 19 degrees as at now. It feels like 24. It's warmer there. Highs of 29 degrees. And lows of 19. Well,
yeah, proper sunlight for the better part of the day. A bit of cloud cover, nothing much to worry about. It is quite sunny. Chances of rain almost nil.
Yeah.
So it promises to be a sunny, partly cloudy day in Kitui, weather that you can enjoy. Further up.
And Bungoma, 17 degrees, feels like 16. Fred, unatoka Bungoma?
I'm also Bungoma.
All right, it feels like 16. Highs of 29 degrees as well, just kama Kitui, and lows of 16.
There's a rider here that there's slight warming expected over the next 4 days. So you do expect in Bungoma a bit of warm temperatures throughout this week. But for today, yes, sunny intervals throughout the day, a bit of cloud cover here and there. As you said, highs of 29. Chances of rain, kidogo sana. So Bungoma na Kitui, weather ni ile wako same. Tuangalie Kisumu, which is not very far from Bungoma.
Yeah, 19 degrees, feels like 24, warm as always. Highs of 29 degrees. Kuna kitu inaendelea huko.
29 degrees. You see now it's Bungoma, Kisumu and Kitui.
Yeah.
So weather is actually getting
Kilifi.
warmer across.
Is it Kitui?
This is Kitui. This is Kitui.
Yes,
We've not even
Kitui.
looked at Kilifi.
Yes.
Sunny intervals throughout the day. You see like at 9 a.m., no cloud cover, clear skies, just sunlight. But a bit of cloud cover later in the day. More or less the same weather like in Bungoma. Ukiangazia Kilifi.
Feels like 29 degrees.
Oh, yes.
It's at 26 degrees as at now. Highs of 31 degrees. You're low, see low. So
Hiyo low ni high ya kwingine.
you're low ni high.
If you come to Nairobi, probably that's a high.
Yes.
So yes, a lot of sunlight throughout the day in Kilifi, more or less holiday weather. Lakini holiday likusha, it is January. Guys should be back at work now. Yes, that's as far as Kilifi is concerned. Let's take a look at Nairobi. And
all right. 17 degrees, feels like it. Highs of 27 degrees.
Nakwambia the high in Nairobi
Yes.
is actually the lowest in Kilifi. Proper sunlight throughout the day, so it promises to be a sunny day. Vaa t-shirt leo, ukiwa na shades, leo ndo siku ya kutoka nayo. Sunglasses.
Nairobi moja.
Nairobi, hapa tu Nairobi.
All right.
No chance of rainfall today in Nairobi, so hapana kubeba mizigo mingi na mwavuli. There's no need. That's just the weather in Nairobi. And because we're in Nairobi now, let's take a look at the traffic situation at this time of day, which is about 1/4 the hour. Pale Pangani, yes, building slowly, but bado ijashikana. So yes, a bit of slow traffic today. Pangani slowly. Juja Road is building up. Juja Road pale imekuwa serious kidogo. Just before you get to that Eastleigh Junction, after the Moi Air Base, both sides of the road, there's a long stretch of red. Lakini hiyo ni kawaida. Quite busy area along Juja Road. Jogoo Road, mechelewa. Pale Makadara too, there's a bit of red there. After that, it's green all the way into town. Hata Haile Selassie Avenue, mahali ilikuwa shida last week, both sides of the road. Imeanza kutulia. Shule watu washaenda, so not much travel. Hawa tu ni watu wenye wanaenda Marikiti. Guys going around. Yes, Muturi, Marikiti and what's this big market there? It's called Gikomba. Yes. So watu wamerudi shughuli zao za kawaida. Other roads are not problematic. I'm looking at the southern part, Mombasa Road, Lang'ata Road is looking good, and even this stretch, Wayakiwe, iko sawa sawa. Do we have a quote of the day?
Absolutely. So right about now, let's take a look at the quote of the day. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.
I like that. Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Deadly. Well, let's come back and take a look at the local dailies in depth. All right, and you'll do realize that there's one face that is common across all the front pages today, and that's the face of public service CS Justin Muturi, who came out yesterday and shockingly accused the same government that he serves, where he sits in cabinet, where he has even served as Attorney General before, where he has even served and sat in the National Security Advisory Council, coming out to call out the government on issues to do with abductions. So on the People Daily, that's a big headline. Why Muturi is facing the door. Yes, Cabinet Secretary throws caution to the wind and launches a stinging attack on President Ruto over abduction of youths, enforced disappearances and killings. And yes, what is happening? Is Kenya Kwanza imploding? What is happening? Because this is rare. You rarely see a CS come out to criticize.
6 months later is quite a long time after his son was abducted, that is Leslie Muturi. So why yesterday? It
was also very telling to see that when he gave that press conference, press briefing, he was flanked or really accompanied, not on camera, but off camera, by MPs allied to the former Deputy President, Rigathi Gachagua. In particular, MP for Manyata, Mukunji, was there. So that's a big headline there on the front page of the People Daily, and you'll see this is a common thread across all dailies today. Other quick highlights on the front page of this paper. Kenyans now want Dutch King to cancel his visit to Kenya. This is a very interesting one because they've written emails.
Yes, still in line with the abductions.
Telling His Royal Highness, this is not the place to come to. Think about it.
Here.
Give it some good thought. This is not the place to come to. So whether or not yule mfalme amesikia, we'll wait to see. But that's there. And I think Kenyans are getting, they're digging in. Every time ministers or any person comes out to tell them that you should not be doing these things online, they go a notch higher. They go a notch higher. So I don't know if it's working for the government. Speaking of the government, President Ruto is there on the front page, and he says, Ruto mocks critics of a one-term prediction. So finally, the president talking about this discussion about whether or not he will get a second term in 2027, should the terms be extended. And he says, well, at some point, no one even thought I would have any term as president. So mbona mnaongea sana sai. Anyway.
I'm favored. That is a favored guy.
It's there. From village carpenter to KCSE superstar, stories still to do with KCSE and the success stories therein continue to be documented in our dailies. And I don't know why we rarely talk about those people who got D's and E's. Then what happens next? I'd want to know, okay, fine. Have you given up in life?
After kuambia kama wako kwa gazeti waende when it loses. No.
All right, that's the People Daily today. Let's take a look at the Daily Nation, of which you have a physical copy.
Now still Muturi given prominence there. Muturi takes on Ruto over abductions, and it's quoted there. He says, I have personally suffered as my son was abducted and disappeared. I was not sure whether he was alive or dead, making us anxious and leaving me, my wife and my family in turmoil. That is Muturi yesterday in a press conference here in Nairobi.
Interestingly, now that he's come out and said this, and everyone expects that he'll be fired anytime now. So someone was even suggesting, because the National Assembly is holding a special sitting tomorrow to vet the new cabinet nominees, the 3. So someone was saying, can this process be expedited so that another nominee for this position can be vetted as these 3 are vetted as soon as possible.
And you know, Caleb Amesi also told him to resign because he's against the government now that he's working for.
Well, there's one thing to resign, or Wasamanga, I'd rather die than resign.
We also have another story there. Okay, the Daily Nation says, in a rare attack, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi breaks rank with his boss, President William Ruto, as he demands an end to the spiraling wave of abductions, illegal detentions, and enforced disappearances perpetrated by rogue state agents against perceived enemies and critics of the government. That is on page 4 of the Daily Nation. And as we leave that, a mother's joy as baby thief cornered after 90 days on the run.
Wow, that's a very uplifting story. So after 3 months of agony, an Nakuru woman has finally been reunited with her baby who went missing after she was stolen by a stranger. The stranger lured 4 children who were in the company of baby Maya Kirubo with soda and French fries before sneaking away with her. 90 days later, the family can now breathe a sigh of relief after baby Maya was found with a woman who was captured on CCTV stealing the baby from Kwaronda in Nakuru West constituency. Wow.
So chipo is never a joke. Utapewa chipo na uibwe.
I tell you, it's very unfortunate. You know how distressing it can be as a parent when your young baby, probably a toddler who cannot even express themselves, is stolen. Now you don't know, are they being treated right?
Yeah.
Is he or she safe? And it can be very disorienting. And it's we are happy for this family that they got their child back. Yes.
And down here, broke schools sending students back home for fees. Remember, the government has not disbursed the capitation money to schools.
Yes.
Yeah. And
probably this is what that principal for St. Anne's should have done. Yes, instead of locking children outside the gate at night, you let them in for a night, then the following day unaambia now go back home for school fees.
Yes.
At least you know they are safe.
You know, during our time they used to do that. I don't know about your time, Fred.
Yes.
Sisi ulikuwa unarudishwa nyumbani the following day.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember the time when I was in primary school and the school fees was 280 shillings. Alafu unaambiwa rudi nyumbani.
All right, that's it on the Daily Nation.
On the back page, there's an interesting story. The CS for Sports, Bwana Mvuria. Anaitwa Sali Mvuria anasema Kenya is ready to host 2024 CHAN. Now this will form part of the big discussion today on
Monday Blitz.
Monday Blitz. Yes. Do we have the stadia to host this continental tournament? So do stand by for that conversation. That's the Daily Nation this Monday. Let's move on to Business Daily. We do have a physical copy there.
Yes, and they say Kenyan firms turn up to cryptos for foreign supplier payments. Use of stablecoins common in times of dollar shortages. Shilling hedging also driving adoption of pay action. And we see also Justin Muturi on the front page of the Business Daily. That's aside, we've talked about Justin Muturi. It's about him condemning the abductions. Now, KRA goes slow on a pay bill tax registered. And they say it has slowed down on plans to convert all M-Pesa pay bills into electronic tax registers, opting to focus on small businesses enjoying turnover tax and rental income.
A reprieve for people using M-Pesa because guys were really worried, especially people who are acting as treasurers for funerals and weddings, where everyone is sending you money. Lafikiri telling you, your pesa unatoa wapi? We need some tax. Or even the pay bills and till numbers. At least wamesema sasa they'll focus on SMEs who are enjoying some good turnover, not just all M-Pesa users. That's the Business Daily.
Yeah.
Move on now to Taifa Leo. Anaogopa kitu mlimani? Ni swali tu pale kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa gazeti hili la Taifa Leo. Rais Ruto aliyezoea kuzuru Mlima Kenya takriban kila wiki, kwa sasa ameliepuka eneo hilo kwa karibu miezi miwili. Mara ya mwisho alikuwa huko ni wakati alienda Embu. Anasema alizuru Embu kwa hafla ya kidini, si kisiasa, mnamo Novemba 16. Wakazi wa Mlima Kenya walimshutumu vikali kwa kumng'oa Gachagua mamlakani. Ukumbuka wakati huo hafla hiyo ilihudhuriwa na wengine akiwemo aliyekuwa rais wa Kenya Uhuru Kenyatta na pia aliyekuwa naibu wa rais Rigathi Gachagua. Rais Ruto akajaribu kusema tunafanya ile masuala ya afya, tunaangazia upande, watu wakaambia hapana, hiyo maneno hataki. Kutoka siku hiyo hajarudi huko. Ameenda upande wa magharibi, ameenda Nyanza, ameenda Narok, Kilgoris, Kisii, Rift Valley, maeneo yote mengine na pia maeneo ya pwani, lakini mlimani haendi.
Haendi jamani.
Taifa Leo anauliza anaogopa kitu mlimani, kwani mlimani si Kenya? Nasema kila mahali hapa ni Kenya, tutatembea kila mahali. Tembea mlimani rais, tembea mlimani.
And you see Rigathi Gachagua is also telling him, Joe, uambie kwa nini umewafanyia haya yote.
Usisubiri ghadhabu zishuke kwa sababu zinaendelea kupanda. Wasia hapa, watu wa Mlima Kenya walikupenda lakini umwasaliti. Ukiwachukia na kuwanyanyasa, njoo uambie kwa nini uliwafanyia haya yote. Je, anaogopa kitu mlimani? Ni swali, sio mimi nauliza, swali kwenye gazeti la Taifa Leo. Vidokezo zaidi pale juu, masuala ya karo, walimu wafukuza wanafunzi, Walimu wakuu waanza kulalamika baada ya serikali kuchelewesha kutuma mgao wake. Masuala ya siasa, Mudhama ataka Kalonzo aunge Ruto. Amshauri kigogo Ukambani afuate nyayo za Raila na Uhuru kwa kuunga serikali. Habari yenyewe kwenye ukurasa wa 4. Pale chini, wakili aliyeshtaki Trump ajiuzulu. Ajiondoa siku 7 kabla ya rais wa 47 kuapishwa.
Lakini hata wewe ungejiuzulu.
Hata mimi siwezi kaa huko.
You know, Trump said atamtoa. Akiingia na kutoa. That is Jack Smith.
And Trump can be very vindictive.
Yes.
Yeah. Tuonane debeni ni habari nyingine mwaka 2027. Ruto asema. Ruto awakemea wanaobashiri kuwa atakuwa rais wa mhula mmoja pekee. Amesema hata hii mmoja mko mnaona kama nitapata. Kwa hiyo achane na mimi. Oburu pia atetea serikali. Ni habari nyingine ambayo imepewa kipaumbele kwenye ukurasa wa mbele wa Taifa Leo. Let's focus on the Standard, and we have a physical copy as well.
Right. Abductions fallout is the title. In the Standard, and they say Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi has broken with tradition to call for a sober debate on abductions that he says hit him hard when his son was kidnapped last year. He joins a list of senior government officials calling for an end to the extrajudicial means of dealing with dissent in the country.
Oh, yes, and that was a very bold move by the CS for public service. Whether or not it will cost him or his job, we wait to see. It's only Monday.
Yes.
It's only the 3rd week of this year. You never know.
Mambo ni mengi.
There could just be a vacancy in the cabinet, but let's wait and see. Maybe they'll try and do it different, because what would it mean to fire another cabinet minister from the Mount Kenya region?
Yes.
For President William Ruto. And maybe that's what they're trying to dare him to do.
Yeah.
Futa mwingine tuone.
Gachagua shauliza kwa nini unatufanyia hivi?
Anaogopa kitu mlimani. Other quick highlights here. Many Kenyans face impossible choices to put food on the table. Central Bank of Kenya warns of further price increases, blaming high production costs, poor policies, and unpredictable weather. Very interesting.
Yeah.
This is Central Bank saying that there are some poor policies. That's a special report on page 6 of the Standard. Of Raila's AUC bid and Gen Z factor, Gen Z wamekasirika, wamesema hiyo maneno ya AUC hawataki.
And you remember the what is she called? The editor from, is this South Africa? SABC, who questions Raila's competency to vie for that seat or to lead Africa in that, if he cannot do something about the abductions in the country.
Well, February is very fast approaching. D-Day will soon be here, and we'll see whether or not it will work. That story I was asking you about, at least is featured there on the front page of the Standard, up there. The story is on page 7, matters KCSE. After KCSE, thousands stare at bleak future. So mainly of those 500,000 people who scored D plus and below. So what happens to them? That's a big question. Not just focusing on the success stories, because this is where the majority lie. So the Standard has done us justice with that story. Retailers are uneasy with China Square, not a new story. We've heard them before. Scientists find new blood group system, and brilliant on-field and in class too.
Fred, is it really China Square alone? Because, you know, we have Shiko now, Shiko Ahesa.
Oh, yes. But, you know, she's getting her stuff from China as well.
Yes, but you know, China Square has also relaxed of late. We don't hear much about China Square as when it started. People should understand that in business, there's something called competition. Yes. Yes. And there's a competition authority. But wache maneno mengi. Pale nyuma, I think your story haina maana sana kwa the Standard. We move on to the Star. Yeah. And the Star is also political today. IEBC's 5.6 million Gen Z voters to tilt 2027 election. Pundits say young people are likely to have big influence in the polls. That is in page 4 and 5 of the Star. Right, and Ruto dismisses talk he will be one-term president. Yeah, we also have Muturi there. Muturi is also there on the front page. So Muturi claims government has hand in ongoing abductions, and that's a CS, a member of President William Ruto's cabinet. Very interesting. What will happen to him going forward? Tunangojea rais aongee, amenyamaza sana. Yosta sema, zapigwa kofi. Yeah.
This is a cartoon on the Star today. It talks about the same issue. We have the caricature of the CS for public service, who has broken ranks with his Kenya Kwanza colleagues and members of cabinet, coming out to boldly speak about the abductions and his own experience when his son was abducted. Meanwhile, on the other hand, on the other side, we have the image of the CS for Interior, Kapseret MP there, and kuna hizi ngumi zinatoka tu kwa defiant people on social media. People remain defiant despite all these things. Now that anyone coming out to say that, oh, don't put people in coffins, unawekwa.
Yes.
Wengine wasema, oh, unawekwa. That's a cartoon on the Star.
Yeah.
Cartoon on the Standard, kuna ngamia mkubwa pale. Wanasema, na hiyo ngamia amelabeliwa Parliament. Na kuna tundu la sindano. You know that piece of scripture where they say that it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of the needle than for a rich man to access heaven. But this, I think they're drawing parallels with that, but they're talking about integrity here. So the issue is integrity. And Parliament is a camel, and it's supposed to go through the eye of the needle. Hapo itakuwa ngumu. So maswala ya integrity, bunge wamelemewa.
This is People Daily?
Yes.
Yes, I am almost there. This is Chan.
Yes.
Chan and AFCON venues. We have Kenya. Tunajikokota?
Kenya tumewekwa kama tortoise, meaning we're very slow in actually working out these things.
Yes.
Tunasema tu, I am almost there. This is going to be the biggest discussion on Monday Blitz today. Are we ready? Do we have the necessary stadia and equipment and other facilities to host such kind of continental tournaments? That's a People Daily today. Finally, on the Daily Nation, what we're talking about vetting. So tomorrow, the National Assembly will be rolling out the red carpet and vetting 3 nominees to cabinet. That's Lee Kinyanjui, Mutahi Kagwe, and the other gentleman, Kabogo. Yes. So as they do that, there are questions that arise, a lot of things being swept under the rug, regional disparity, ethnicity, gender imbalance. These are just some of the conversations that people and questions people are asking as we get ready for the vetting of cabinet nominees. There are 3, but vile mambo inaenda,
They could be 4.
They could be 4. That's a cartoon on the Daily Nation today.
Yeah.
So yes, so these are just some of the conversations we'll be having with our panelists. Naambiwa watu wajaelewa hii angamia. That's a standard. Nimeambiwa it is actually Matthew 19. It is easier, verse 24, it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle than a rich man to access the kingdom of heaven. But this is not Matthew. This is Parliament.
This is Kenya.
And integrity is an eye of the needle that this is supposed to go through. Is it really easy for Parliament to pass the integrity test? It's impossible. Yes. All right. So these are the conversations we're having this Monday, even as we anticipate the vetting of cabinet nominees. And we'll be having this conversation and others with my panelists after the break, Philip Kisia, Samuel Pogisio, and Danson Mungatana. Do stand by for that conversation.
Interact with us on our socials, TV47 Kenya on Facebook and YouTube, at @Ann_Odida.
At Fred Ndimuli, you're watching Bonga.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora.
In an attack on the administration he works for, Public Service Cabinet Secretary Justin Muturi bemoaned the recent spate of kidnappings that targeted young Kenyans. Muturi attacked President William Ruto-led government, calling for an end to the unrest, expressing his dismay at the disappearance of his son in June when anti-government demonstrations were at the peak.
Let us now discuss this issue. We must find a solution. It cannot be that once people are not being responded to in an atmosphere where they are discussing the problems. We must find what the problems is and try to come up with solutions.
Muturi highlighted the impact of these instances by sharing the emotional agony his family went through when his son vanished, pleading with government officials to put an end to what he described as a chest-thumping situation.
A forum where Kenyans can be able to come and express themselves. We avoid this situation of chest-thumping. Let those, because many of those who have been abducted have stories to tell. Let us give them an opportunity to explain so that Kenyans will know what it is that is bedeviling the country.
The CS, however, threatened to take decisive action if his demands are not met, raising queries regarding his recent relationship with his boss, President William Ruto. Sources close to TV47 indicate that Muturi's misery began when he was heckled in Embu County, before he was forced to shelve reading President William Ruto's message in a funeral.
I'm not aware of any forces that have been formed to abduct Kenyans, because that would be an illegality. And government cannot be the one abducting its people. It is for that reason that I think we need to discuss it openly.
The CS disclosed that his son was kidnapped and no explanations were given, even though he was a senior member of the National Security Council during his time as Attorney General.
The security sector has said that they are not involved in the abductions, but interestingly, they have failed to stop them, as they are happening in full public glare. The President has equally said that he would want to see the abductions end. Kenyans want to know how many of our youths have been taken in since the abduction started.
And after his statement, the Directorate of Criminal Investigations DCI Sunday evening confirmed that the abduction case involving Muturi's son is still active before them, inviting the CS and any other person to share more information on the incident. In a statement, the DCI said it affirms its steadfast commitment to ensuring that all abduction cases are thoroughly investigated and the culprits brought to book. His statement coming in response to growing outrage about the increase in kidnappings and unexplained fatalities from opposition leaders, human rights organizations and civil society organizations. Mike Kagwango, TV 47, Nairobi.
It is definitely a story that has refused to go away, to leave our headlines, the matter of abductions, and now a CS for Public Service throws a spanner in the works. Justin Muturi has ensured his image is on all the front pages of our dailies today, including Business Daily, which has steered clear of this issue, but has the image of the CS for Public Service on the front page. Wametafuta nafasi wakamweka pale. He's also on the Star, on the Daily Nation, on the Standard and the People Daily as well. And tomorrow, as we anticipate the vetting of 3 cabinet nominees, many people are wondering, should they be 4 who are being vetted going forward? Allow me to introduce my panelists this morning. Beginning on my immediate right, Danson Mugatana, Senator, Tana River County. It's good to have you in studio, karibu sana.
Good morning, Fred. Good morning, Kenyans.
Yes. Philip Kisia joins us today. Philip Kisia served as Town Clerk Nairobi. He is a leadership and governance expert. This is the very first time this year you are on Morning Cafe, so Happy New Year, Bwana Kisia. Karibu sana.
Thank you, Fred. Happy New Year to my good friend, Senator Mugatana. Happy New Year to Kenyans. And in the midst of pain and suffering, I am praying that God at least will be gracious and grant Kenyans good health.
Asante sana. We still expect Bwana Samuel Pogisio to be joining us as we go along. So the biggest discussion today, looking at the dailies, is the statement issued yesterday by the CS for Public Service. And on the front page of the People Daily, they talk about why Muturi is facing the door. Many people felt that that statement in itself was an indication that his time in cabinet has come to an end or is just about to come to an end. Do you agree with that? And do you think that what he did was the right way to go about it?
Thank you, Fred, and Kenyans watching me. In Parliament, both in the National Assembly and in the Senate, we have a rule which I know we are not in Parliament, but it is relevant. It is called the personal statement rule. That standing order forbids any discussion on a personal statement. So even as I make my comments, I think I'll be measured, because for me, it appeared to me that JB Muturi, who is a very good man, very collected man. He has served as our speaker, as a cabinet member, and
Attorney General.
And Attorney General. And he's a good man. I mean, let me just say, he's a good man. I have known him personally for a long, long time. So again, that again will make me be measured towards my statement. But I just wanted to say, as a father, anybody would be very worried if his son or daughter gets missing. And the family will be organized, as clearly you would see from his statement. He was speaking more like a father. So on that front, I will not fault him. But I wanted to say this. If we examine that statement, there was really no evidence that Honorable J.B. Muturi, our former speaker, placed before the public to suggest that the officers that he was working with were involved. He told Kenyans that he went out, asked the police and relevant authorities to look for the child, and as far as he as far as the presentation was concerned, he did not come out to tell us that he knows that it is the police or it is some people. In fact, he said he was abducted by unknown people. And then at the end, he says that something needs to be done. Now, questions that then come up is, if this is a 6 months happening and there's nobody, his son is not in custody right now of police or unknown people, then why raise it at this point? So it's a very curious kind of statement coming 6 months later.
Do you find that it could be a political statement?
So yeah, those are the things that you feel you want to hazard on. You know, we really don't know what is going on, but you want to hazard that maybe there is another reason. It could be political, it could be personal, it could be whatever, but there is another reason. Because if then there is an issue, it should have been raised immediately. And when it was Attorney General, he should have come out and said, there's a problem, including my son. My son has also disappeared. The curious statements Kenyans are asking, like me, is why wait 6 months down the road? And that question, we also cannot answer. Only him can answer. And I wish he had opened up his statement to examination by the media, because he seemed to have talked and walked away. At least the bit that I saw on the news, I didn't see him answering questions. But it is true that this issue of abduction has bothered us for the last few weeks. And I have stated here before, and I will say it again, that when there is a problem, institutions of government that are charged with those issues should come up and give directions. I'm personally disappointed that it seems like the court is taking the lead in these matters of security. Yet we have a cabinet secretary in charge of security. We have the Inspector General of Police. We have the Directorate of Criminal Investigation. We have the Attorney General. I think the law and order sector within the cabinet ought to sit down and come up with a plan, answer these questions that people are raising, and tell us this is the plan that we have to deal with this matter. And if the plan is good, then it will be executed and succeed. If the plan is not good, a better plan may come up. If that better plan doesn't work, the best plan will come up. But so for me, I think people should depoliticize this issue, let the law and order sector take the lead and deal with this matter.
There's a gentleman who sits in the cabinet, Bwana Kisia, and he could have raised some of his concerns through those channels. Many people are wondering, is it really about the abductions, or are we looking at something different? Because yes, journalists were there, and what we noticed was that some of the people who attended, did not appear on camera, but attended that session, was none other than MP for Manyata, Bwana John Mukunji, whose allegiance we know where it lies.
Well, Fred, before I make my comment, let me pass my condolences to the family of Rasna Wara. She has been one of us, trying to put this rogue regime in check. But may the Almighty God rest her soul in eternal peace. We've lost a fighter, and I'm sure that God will be gracious enough to give us somebody else to replace Rasna. Unlike my very good friend Mungatana, Senator, I'm not going to be measured, because I have no business being measured, at least on this particular matter. Because we are talking about our children. We are talking about human life. Fred, we are talking about children, young children being abducted, young babies. To some of us, those are our grandchildren. And maybe to Mungatana, those are his children. So this is something beyond a public office. It's a very emotive matter. But I agree with him that the agencies in a system that works, the agencies would have been able to work. But here you have a one-man show. He's a system. He's everything. So if there's failure, let us not run away from the failure. The failure actually emanates from the toppest office in the Republic of Kenya. Let me say this. It is shameful to live in this country at this moment in time. Not only our young children being abducted, but now even they are going to neighbors. In 2023, we had Maurice Mabior, okay, from South Sudan being abducted here. 2024, Kiza, Dr. Kiza, again, happening in Kenya. We saw it happening. 2025, a lady journalist, Maria, now they're going for even women and children. I mean, it's ridiculous. It has never happened before. But we are happening because we are being governed by a government that is dysfunctional. I mean, it's lost it. They have lost it. They don't have the legitimacy to govern. They have no capacity to govern. So they have become rogue. I think the question was, Justin Muturi, who is my good friend, came out. But we must understand, like my friend Mugatana said, that, let's separate the human being speaking as a parent. Okay? The pain of a parent, the only person who knows the pain of a child is a parent. If you don't have children, you may not understand the pain. In fact, the people who understand the pain most are our women, because they carry these children for 9 months. Some characters, even a game of 30 seconds, they can't keep up to, So the people who understand the pain are really our mothers and our women. Okay? So the question was, should Justin, leave alone, Fred, leave alone him being a cabinet secretary. The cabinet secretary position can end tomorrow. He can be fired. He can resign. Hence my question. But he cannot resign from being a parent. Yes. Okay? So of course, there's the doctrine of collective responsibility. But again, we all know, because we live in the Republic of Kenya, that in the cabinet, we all know, because they are friends.
My question was very different. Is it all about the abductions that Justin Muturi is coming out at this point?
I was coming to that.
As we said, this incident with the son happened 6 months ago.
Yes, I was coming to that. And, there's an answer you're trying to get from me that you're not going to get, Fred. I'm saying, look at Justin Muturi as a parent speaking. It doesn't matter whether it's 1 year later. He's still going through pain and agony, okay? Even a year later, if you're a parent, you talk about it. If you lose your child, if something happens to your child, it doesn't matter. Even 10 years later, you'll talk about it, okay? So for me, time does not matter. Whether it is 6 months, 2 months, maybe now he's actually now feeling more pain, seeing other children going through the same experience like his son did. I think, Fred, what is important is to appreciate the fact that we have institutions which have not been allowed to function. We have had DCI before. They have been fairly efficient. We have had NIS who are supposed to predetermine what is going to happen in future. They scan the environment, what's happening, and give advice. The president give advice to all other institutions that work for government. Are we saying that we are being governed by a government that either has people who are incompetent heading those institutions, or the mere fact that they are not being allowed to do their job? Those are the questions that probably people who are in government are supposed to. But in closing, Fred, I must congratulate Justin Muturi for coming out to speak as a parent, because I have children. My friend Mugatana has many children like myself, and we know the pain of even seeing your child even just falling sick. Forget about your child disappearing. Forget about your child being killed through extrajudicial means. Forget about that one. Even then, when a child is, going through some sort of pain, sick. It pains you as a parent. So I don't know whether the people in charge of this government, I don't know, they're human beings. I don't know.
But Mungatana, you questioned the different agencies that are supposed to be taking care of this. Justin Muturi, when he was Attorney General, sat in the National Security Council.
Correct.
Which is the highest level organ, and as far as this country's security is concerned. He says that even during that time, because that's when the incident happened, he demanded for answers from many people and he got none. Are we saying that there are rogue elements in this country that have gone beyond even the highest organ of this country's security, that their operations are not even known to the National Security Council?
Let me just say that one very quickly, that this country is, unlike maybe our neighbors and a lot of African countries. I've said this many times before, that I'm very proud to be a member of Kenya. And many times when I sit in the African Parliament to speak, a lot of people want to hear what Kenya has to say. And as head of delegation, I have been a very proud head of delegation, very proud Kenyans, wherever I go, even when we have all these issues. And let me also repeat what the president says when we were in Wetangula's mother's funeral. In that funeral, there were sparks, political sparks that flew everywhere. And the president said to our neighbors, because there were speakers from all the East African countries who had come to say pole to Mheshimiwa Wetangula. He said to our neighbors, this is how we live. And please, when you go back, say we are peaceful. This is the country I lead, with all these diverse opinions, diverse positions on many issues. This is how I'm supposed to then give direction. Coming back to this issue, I'm standing on this point saying the government is supposed to give security to everyone. That is a given. That's part of the duty of the administration, which is in point is in charge at the point. But all of us know that the ratio of policemen to the citizens is way below what is recommended across the world. Why? Because the power of policing is just too expensive to do according to the recommendation and the recommended ratio. As one policeman should look after how many people? In Kenya, like many other African countries, we don't have the capacity to deal with policing matters as they should, according to the United Nations recommendations. So then we have come up with other things that help us. For example, in Tana River, and I know many other parts of the country, people have nyumba kumi. You have a system where if new people, strange people are around, you try to make sure the chief knows, you try to make sure the people around you are aware. Now, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work, especially within town areas, where now a lot of people don't even know how this nyumba kumi works. They don't even know who are their representatives.
Are you saying that the National Security Council at that level is totally unaware about the rampant abductions happening?
No.
Or at least does not have information?
I'm coming to that. I'm saying the police ratio to citizens in Kenya is not what it should be recommended. We don't have the resources to keep it the way it should be. Therefore, as a nation, we have come with innovation. Innovations, we are saying, nyumba kumi is one of them, which is then supposed to help us maintain security, not just abductions, but security in general. And I've given an example. I've said in Tana River, we have that system where if the strangers come, you go to the chief, the nyumba kumi takes care of issues, and we get to know what is happening. But I'm saying that system may not be as effective in town centers as it is in the rural areas. So let us agree on one thing. Security is a business for all of us. It is our concern for all of us. For all of us, whether you are operating at the national security like Attorney General was, former Attorney General was, or whether you are operating in my house, like where I am. I'm supposed to take care of myself as we take care of our neighborhoods and every other place. So if there are breaches, if there are problems, let us deal with those issues as they are. That's why I keep going back to telling people, the moment you politicize issues, you lose the game. But if we said that, look, how many police stations have received reports of missing people? How many police stations have received reports of kidnapped people? Let us coagulate all this. What are the issues? Who have we found? Who have we not found? What can we do? What strategy can we put so that we solve? And it is not me, Mgatana, the legislator from Tana River County, but it is the security agencies that have been put in place that are supposed to take a lead. And then if they want support from all of us, for example, if they want changes in the law, they want to bring new regulations into the security acts, then we will provide that support. But they must take charge. So from where I sit, I think Inspector General of Police and Director Criminal Investigation and the Attorney General and the whole sector of justice needs to have a meeting, needs to communicate the strategy to Kenyans and tell us this is what we are doing. Fred, I want to make another point. USA is one of the countries that has the highest kidnappings in the world. I'm not talking about, in the US alone. I'm saying in the world. South Africa has a problem in the continent of Africa in terms of, the statistics that we read on criminal matters. But you don't see people in those developed countries in Africa making it like the government has sat down to plan to kidnap people.
Let
me finish.
These are
people sit down.
Government critics.
No,
who are being
people
kidnapped in
sit
Kenya.
down and they say there is a problem.
Okay.
This is how we are going to solve this problem. We are going to deal with kidnappings. This is the code we are going to use. We are going to deal with abductions. Yes. This is how we are going to do it.
Let's move on to the political implications of that statement.
From where I sit, I believe that when there is an issue, the moment you start, going about it in a...
There's a security issue on one hand. There's a political one.
Security issues should be dealt with
Bwana Kisia,
way.
There is a political consequence of that statement when a CS comes out to call out the same government that he serves. What is a political implication of this, and what kind of consequences should we expect?
Let me tell you, just before I quickly answer your question, allow me to say this, just to comment on the sentiments made by my good friend Mugatana. He talked about the ratios of police to citizens. And I know, because I've been involved in, I and my team in the year 1999, 2000, we are the ones who started this concept of community policy. Okay, and it went on very well. Moi accepted it, and Kibaki came, and we moved along. But somewhere along the line, those who came after, those heads of state came up with their own strategies. Okay, so I understand community policing very well. It worked very well in Nairobi. If you look at our records, even crime rates came down between the year 2000 to about 2003. Now, the community policing the success is not limited to rural areas. Community policing is about information sharing, reducing the gap between those who are being policed and those who are policing, okay? So just reducing the gap and building confidence between the two, that can give you the desired results. And then, of course, my friend Mugatana talked about the ratios. The ratios before were poorer than now. They were very bad. They were terrible, okay? And I think if you look at World Bank recommends about 1 to 688. I don't know. If you look at I think Kenya is doing fairly well. We are not so badly off compared to how we were about 2 decades ago. But that they're in government, they can deal with those issues now. Now, he also went further to comment about the level of abductions in in the United States of America, in South Africa. Let's compare apples to apples and not apples to oranges. But let me say this. Justin Muturi's statement is loaded and it is heavy. What Justin Muturi has said, that this government has monumentally failed, completely failed. Because the first job of a government, the first job, is to ensure safety and security of its citizens. Job number one. Because if you can't do that job, and your fellows, the generations that are supposed to be coming protected are being maimed, murdered, killed, abducted. The generations, you know, Mungatana and myself have seen the seventh decade. Okay, we are on the 6th decade, but we have seen the 7th decade. But we are the ones responsible. We are the ones in charge of this country. We are the ones in charge of these institutions. We are the ones who are overseeing the murder, maiming, disappearance of our children. It's very shameful. So Justin Muturi, we must congratulate him for coming out openly and having the courage of saying that the government I work for has monumentally failed on its cardinal job number one. Now, secondly, what is the implication? When a government cannot protect you, okay? When the government cannot ensure law and order, what should be the results? Yeah? What do you expect? The citizens then must protect themselves. That is the result. That's the implication.
I'm asking about Justin Muturi's position as cabinet secretary.
Yes.
Now that he has come out to challenge his boss directly, and the same government that he serves, do you see him surviving in the same cabinet going forward? That's the question.
Well, let me give you my perspective. Let me give you my perspective. Let me tell you, now that Justin Muturi has spoken, and he has, got it out of his chest, if I were Justin Muturi, the second thing I'll do, because now he's already serving, is to separate himself from this rogue regime, to run away. But if indeed, William Ruto, okay, he feels that because he's giving us this aura that he's in charge. If he's indeed in charge, let him fire this guy by this morning.
President William Ruto has already impeached a deputy president from Mount Kenya. Firing a CS from the same region will have consequences. The CS Muturi appears to know this, but he appears to be pushing his boss to do just that.
I hold a totally different, thinking around this matter. Let me just remind Kenyans who are listening to me that the positions we serve in are positions of trust, and sometimes they become untenable if they're not tenable to you as a person who has been appointed to serve. The most honorable thing to do is to resign. I know that in Japan, for example, the minister in charge of infrastructure and the person who is in charge of the trains, there was a time that the train delayed, not for an hour, not 30 minutes, not 15 minutes, 10 minutes. And he offered to resign, I think that culture where the position you're holding is not tenable becomes untenable to you. You should take the lead and take off. I remember when we served in government many years ago, our party then, Kenya, we had the party leader, Martha Karua, myself. We sat in a meeting and we decided there were certain issues we were pushing the government at that time to do, which they were not doing. And it became difficult for us to stay. And we tendered our resignation. And I remember very well, the first person to go was the cabinet minister. And then I was the one to follow because I was the Secretary General. The chair had to go first, the Secretary General. I remember sitting down with the head of public service, telling me, don't go because the president was out of the country at the time. He was coming back, I think, in the early morning hours. Wait, have a sit down with him and delay your move. I told him, no, we have a decision that we have made as a party. You and I know we have been sitting to discuss this matter. Internally, nobody knew what was going on between ourselves and the president's party. We talked about these things. We tried to resolve them. We were told Saitoti will resolve them. We didn't. Head of public service didn't resolve them. So when we made that decision on principle, it became difficult for even someone like me, who was to do it the next day, to renege on the principle. So from where I stand, I would urge my good friend, Honorable Muturi, when you feel that the government you are serving in has a problem, then let us raise the bar in leadership here in Kenya by saying, I'm not staying here, I'm going to leave because it's untenable for me to stay. And if he offers that resignation, he will be more respected. He will be seen as a person who believes.
Yet between a resignation and being fired politically for Justin Muturi, what would serve him better? A resignation or waiting for him to be fired by his boss?
I think from and we may have different opinions. From where I stand, if you believe in something, then do it yourself. One of the reasons Honorable Raila Odinga, for example, has had a good standing with Kenyans, politically speaking, is when he disagreed in his early years of his politics, when he disagreed with the leadership that was there, he said, no, I'm resigning. In fact, I'm leaving this seat of MP Kibera. At that time, it was called Langata, MP Langata, and I'm going to fight for the same seat on an LDP ticket. And then when he won that seat, the whole country started paying attention to this young man who was serious about what they believe in. So if J.B. Muturi can take, in fact, yesterday would have been the best time for him to say it is untenable for me to stay in this government, and I want to tell the government that if they don't deal with this, I'm going to go away. He should have resigned.
Looking at this headline on the front page of
Taifa
Leo, wanauliza swali, anaogopa kitu mlimani, Rais Ruto. Je, anaogopa? And this comes only 3 months after the impeachment of the deputy president. What has happened in the Mount Kenya region? The president has not been able to venture there ever since. Now comes a situation in January of 2025 where the president could be forced to fire a CS coming from the same region. It would appear someone is trying to force the president's hand. Do you think the president should fire this CS?
Well, let me start by answering your question this time round.
Please do.
If I was the president, and to show that I'm in charge, and there's nothing that can shake me, that my president is not shaken, then I will have the guts to ask my cabinet secretary to step down or I fire him. But I can tell you, this president may not have that level of guts, at least for the time being. And what my good friend, Honorable Mugatana said, Senator, is that when you think that your position is not tenable, then you must do the right thing, honorable thing. But you know, our people are not honorable, they're dishonorable, all of them, all of them. Maybe Senate, there are a few who are still honorable, but all of them, they're dishonorable from the top. If this country had a culture of doing the right thing, we will not be starting at CS level. We would be starting at the head of state level. If you're talking about tenability, honorable, you see, and Mungata has spoken very well, and he talks to the president. Is it not true that this government has failed in securing its people, that our children disappeared, that our children have been murdered? Is it not true that the economy is doing so poorly and people are in pain? Is it not true that really we are suffering as Kenyans? Is it not true that the government has lost its legitimacy to govern, and people are saying, Tawe, we don't want this thing. We are tired of you. Now, if we had that culture of being honorable, yeah, we're asking now Justin Muturi, my friend, to be honorable. And yet all of them from the top are dishonorable. So, and those below, they look at a top. They look at the way the top is behaving. So if the top is not behaving in a manner that, is cultured, yeah, Muturi is just doing what everybody is doing. Why should I resign? I'll wait to be fired. So I can tell you, for a man who was elected, almost half of his votes came from one region, almost half, okay? And now that region seems to be saying, no, we have disagreed. In fact, we have divorced, yeah? And we're not going to hide this fact that actually we are divorced. So look for some other partner to marry, okay? So given that situation, and you know that you are now struggling to get another partner, because the president is struggling to get another partner. But any attempt he makes to get a new partner, you saw these characters that follow the president. They came to my region, to Anzoia, where I have an interest. They came there, they abused our governor. And the president was there looking. They abused our governor. Then they want our votes. Now, I think God is doing his job. I think there's a God. Now, look at the weekend. Just look at this week that has passed. People in full glare of the public and media, people who are following the president, are in tow with the president, are saying things that are not palatable at all. Talking about our mothers' private parts in full glare of the media, in the presence of the president. And the president said nothing. Do you think that the mothers of this republic will even pay attention? Do you think that our youth who are expected to copy us in terms of behavior, in terms of how they should grow, do you think that we are giving the right example? And then our president tells our youth and us as parents, please talk to your children. How can we talk to our children, Jed? How can we talk to our children? Because they have access to media, they have access to information. How can we talk to them when they can see a full grown-up, a grandfather, abusing their grandmothers and mothers?
Okay.
So, Fred, we are doing what the man above us is doing.
Okay.
Bad manners.
All right.
Can I say something about
on what he has just
on bad
said?
manners?
Yes.
Okay, fine. Let's go ahead.
Fred, let me just say that every person who has been in politics, and I'm speaking as an experienced politician, we all know that the first year is a year where your electorate gives you a lot of latitude, because that's the year that you are settling in the position. The second year is probably the toughest year, because especially if you are in positions where you are distributing resources, like a president and a governor, a member of parliament, because they have that CDF kit, people become very brutal because they now look at the promises you made against what you're delivering. And normally the second year is a very tough year. But going forward, when people start seeing something, and I will tell you, Mr. Kisia, my friend here, that if you believe that the electorate are going to reject Honorable William Ruto because of what has happened now, I think people who are talking like that have failed to the experience test in politics. Politics is about what you're going to present to the people, what you have had achieved. If you are an incumbent, if you are a person looking for office, it is what you hope to achieve. You sell them the hope. Now let us, when we are told, oh, government has failed, government has what? This is rhetoric. And in a studio like this, where people are hoping to get some education. It's good to give the facts, you know. I was in Western, he wasn't there. And there was a politics, but the president was very clear that the sugar industry here, for the first time, Mumias is going to pay dividends. That hasn't happened for many years, okay? And he talked to them about their roads. He talked to us that he was going not only to support the coffee and tea industry like he has done, but he's coming to support even the farmers who are doing livestock keeping, like part of our farmers in Tana River. The president said there's no other regime that has been able to employ in 2 years 76,000 teachers. And Fred, I know you want to cut me off.
We hear you.
No, because you
you're
see,
talking about what the president
let me.
And I was hoping that you were going to comment on what the president has not done, with the people speaking around him on the presidential podium.
I will get to that. But I'm telling you, people who are outside, people who are hoping to come into government or some position, they tend to talk rhetoric. They tend to give non-factual things. When you say that this government has failed, the economy is doing so badly, let me ask you, last year, this time, everybody was talking about the debt. Everybody was saying, oh, Kenya is on the brink of collapse. We are going to default on our debt obligations. But look at what we have done with the economy. People are saying the dollar is going to be at 230.
And Senator, I agree. We'll talk about
but let me say this.
Second term and beyond.
The people of Kenya must hear the facts. They must hear the facts. But let me answer what you are saying. Yes. Let me answer what you are saying. I'm coming to tell you. I was just trying to show you that the government has its challenges, but it has its own successes. And those success stories, every time you want to talk about them, nobody wants to hear that fertilizer is now waiting for them. It's not like previously when we had to import. We didn't import.
All that is well and good, Senator.
Maize last year. Right. So let us also, as we talk, let us also know the truth that is there, as we tell Kenyans what is happening. Anyway, coming to what the people talk when they are accompanying the president, I personally was not happy with what Honorable Farah Maalim spoke. I think he spoke out of turn. I cannot support any language that is excessive in a function such as that. Not just that function, but any other function. And I'm not sure that if he was at home, you know, like if he was in the Dab constituency, he would talk the way he talked. I think it was out of step. It was exaggerated. Maybe it's in the heat of talking, in the heat of passion, whatever it is that he was trying to push. I think it was excessive. But having said all that, I know within the same entourage, there were many members of parliament, many senators, and people in cabinet who spoke things that are beneficial to the community. If one person has erred, I would just say that you cannot judge the entire presidential entourage as against one person.
Do you feel that the presidential podium has of late turned into a circus, that people are using the president's presence to get overly excited, throw around words that are unpalatable, and this is happening in a very short span of time, that everywhere the president goes, politicians feel free enough to speak just the way they want?
No. Let me just say this, Fred, that I'm a political leader, and many times the temperature within the meeting determines what happens, you know, especially when you have a combination of people from all sides, or we have an issue that is burning and is on the table. People tend to speak, and you really can't control how people say their things. You know, like His Excellency the Governor Natembeya, when he spoke, whatever he said, when Honorable Kimani Ichung'wah stood up, he said, in our culture, arrows that are thrown at night are returned at night. So I will answer you right here. So the temperature, the climate was a reactionary climate at that point.
Because
now,
you served as assistant minister under Mwai Kibaki. And you served as assistant minister under Mwai Kibaki. And you were involved with in campaigns. I remember the song Domo Domo, Acha Domo.
Yes.
Would it be possible for such utterances to be made on the same podium where President Mwai Kibaki was? That's the kind of comparison we have.
Okay, let me tell you. I remember very well when we were campaigning with President for President Mwai Kibaki, even when we were sharing the same podium with Honorable Uhuru Kenyatta. I will tell you that people are different. There are those who are highly excitable. There are those who are moderate. There are those who don't like speaking even in public. When they are given the chance, they just say, I greet you, we are together. So people are different. And it is if I'm restrained in saying what I want to say, it's me. It's not somebody who, the President Kibaki at no time did he sit down with us and told us, don't say this, don't say that, don't say this.
But there was a level of respect that you couldn't go beyond when President Mwai Kibaki
I think you are trying to drive at the point that we were maybe being called to order under President Mwai Kibaki's campaign. I think it is just the restraint that people put on themselves. At no time did the president call people and tell them what. And at any rate, that was another time. It was another, can I say, it was another era.
Where there was more respect for the presidency?
No, also the flow of information and things. What we have now, the freedoms that are here now in the internet, the X and what, they were not in that era. People were saying whatever they are. In fact, an issue can be a big issue even without the president getting involved. So there's a bit of a difference. The only thing I would say is an appeal to colleagues who are in this space that it does no harm to restrain yourself when you are saying your point. You can say the same thing without offending people. You can say the same thing.
Just before we go on a break,
at the same time,
I got a lot of flack when I wrote an editorial saying that the space around the president, politicians were misusing it and feeling very free to say anything. In fact, they use the presidential podium to become even more ecstatic than before. Elsewhere, they're a bit guarded. Whenever they see the president, this is a podium to just go free. Do you share that concern?
Absolutely, Fred. And, you know, Mugatana has spoken. When you see children around the father, and they are trying to work so hard, you know, to outdo each other, is a reflection of the father. Because a father or a father figurehead will always call the house to order and say, this behavior is deviant, shall not be tolerated. But when you see, if I was a father figure, and either I'm appearing to be smiling, or grinning, or giving a thumb of approval, then these characters around you will never stop. We watch that video. We are not blind, Senator Mugatana. God has been gracious. We are not blind. Or at least we will not be made blind. We can see, we can feel, we can hear, and we could see how the people around the president behaved, what they said, and how the president responded. He didn't speak. We are in communication, Mr. Mugatana. But let me say this. Senator Mugatana, my very good friend, talked about some of us being rhetoric, because we are aspiring to be some people. We are already some people, we are already people, and we are doing active stuff. And there's nothing wrong in aspiring to be something. But let me say this, because I'm a student of management, an astute student of management. We are going to judge the incumbent against his own promises.
Okay.
This man promised that when he'll put down the Bible, Unga will go down to 70. Is it at 70? That's the question I'm asking. Okay. As the management student,
allow me to, because we need to go on a break.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Then he talked about bringing petrol to 100. Is it at 100? Those are the questions. He talked about free diapers. Our children get it. He talked about free Wi-Fi. He talked about free things. Have those things been delivered? He has consumed 50% of his time, his first term in office. Let me say this. He talks about fertilizer. We saw the scandal. Even I would be ashamed to talk about fertilizer. It was a scam. Our money was stolen. We were given donkey manure and soil and pebbles. Okay. I'm a farmer. We have not seen that fertilizer. We have not seen that fertilizer.
Let's hold it there. We take a break. When we come back, yes, this is a discussion we're going to have, because now the discussion has moved to whether or not the president should be getting a second term or beyond. And he's the same one who's commenting on it on the front page of the People Daily. Ruto is mocking critics of a one-term prediction. That after the break. You're watching Morning Cafe.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look
for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Are you ready to elevate your business game?
As long as you're earning something, there's always that opportunity to save. And you start with where you are.
Kama wewe ni mfanyabiashara, huwezi kaa bure, unajipanga taratibu vile inavyofaa.
Join us each week as we dive into the stories of the world's most driven entrepreneurs.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
The Grind, where business meets brilliance. Tune in every Monday at 7:30 p.m. because your business deserves the best.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come.
All right. Welcome back. You're watching Morning Cafe on TV 47. We continue with the big discussions this morning with Senator Danson Mungatana and Philip Kisi, a leadership and governance expert. We now want to delve into a discussion that has been making headlines for the past few weeks, and the president finally commented on it, and that is on whether or not he is electable for a term beyond this one. And it is among those stories filed by one of our reporters here at TV 47. Let's watch that story. Ruto, one term for who? That's the question.
Speaking at a church service at the United Pentecostal Church of Kenya in the Great North on Sunday, President Ruto said for now his focus is delivering on his promise to Kenyans and not seeking re-election.
Kuna watu wanaongea mambo ya 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms. Mimi nataka niwaambie, mimi pale nyuma kuna watu hata hawakufikiria nitakuwa na any term. So Mungu ni nani? Si ndio? So mimi nimefurahi sana kwamba Mungu amenipatia nafasi hii niwe kiongozi wa Kenya. Mimi ambaye nilikuwa mtu mdogo, sijulikani, familia yangu haijulikani, kutoka mahali kidogo, I am a very proud president of the Republic of Kenya.
President Ruto's sentiments comes at a time a section of politicians have been insisting that the president is going nowhere amidst calls for an alternative in 2027.
Kuna kazi Mungu amenipatia nifanye Kenya hii, na nitafanya. Yes. God has given me an opportunity to lead this nation and an assignment to transform Kenya. And I have every intention to make sure that we transform our nation.
Kapsaret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi has been in the forefront saying the president is going nowhere after the 2027 polls.
Wewe ni mchapakazi. Much is given, much is expected. So your pressure, because we know you're a performer. We've seen you in the Ministry of Agriculture, we've seen you in the Ministry of Education.
So we cannot afford to be divided by tribal politics in Nairobi.
Mbona sisi wa Kristo tumekuwa mpaka kanisani, hapa ndio tunatukanana, tunafanya mwaka wa 2025 tunaambia Mungu hiyo hatufanyi. Na lazima tuheshimu venye bishop amesema, Mheshimiwa Rais, yeye ndio baba yetu.
Tunasikia wengine wakiongea, hiyo ni maoni yao. Sisi tuko kwa broad based government 100%.
Ingekuwa ni hizo siku enzi zingine, leo tungekuwa tunakupangia kesho. Leo tungekuwa tumekaa mahali na chairman tunakupangia.
The president and the leaders accompanying him further defended the broad-based government, which they termed as the solution to Kenya's problems.
I want to tell Your Excellency that as long as you are with God and you are with Baba, I don't think you'll be one-term president.
Mheshimiwa Rais, usitake kupendwa sana na kila mtu. Hata sisi wenyewe hatupendani. Unanipata? Na unasema ukitaka kupendwa zaidi, enda uuze ice cream. Na wewe uliamua kuenda kukuwa nini? Rais. Sio kila mtu atakupenda.
Watu wengine wakiongea juu ya ODM, wajua wewe ni founder member. So mtu asitoe kwamba ODM itafanya hii yote. Kama alikuja baada yako, ajue wewe pia uko na say ya penye ODM itaenda.
Ruto asked the church and Kenyans of goodwill to pray for former Prime Minister Raila Odinga, who is running for the post of the African Union Commission chairperson, saying the post will raise Kenya's international profile. The national government will set aside 4 billion shillings in the next financial year to improve road network within Nairobi city, President William Ruto also announced. He said that he will soon officially commission the Northern Collector Tunnel that will bring 140,000 metric tons of additional water to Nairobi estates, among other promises for the city.
All right, that story by my colleague William Mwogi covered quite a bit of President William Ruto's itinerary on Sunday, but we need to talk about this discussion about his electability for a second term and beyond, because that appears to be a big discussion. We are yet to even get to his second term, to half his term. I think we'll get to that point in March this year. We're still in the first half of his first term, yet the discussion is about whether or not he'll get a second term. Should this be the discussion in 2025, at a time when there are so many things that we should be doing?
Okay, Fred, from where I sit, President Ruto is going to be a very strong candidate in 2027. And I expect that he will be re-elected with a very big majority. Why? Because an incumbent, a person who is sitting in office, is normally judged by his performance. Now, performance per se may not be the radar, but how people have understood your performance. So if you want to emphasize that you've done well in education, then you need to keep talking about education and the things that you have achieved. If it's in agriculture, you need to tell the people that this is what we are doing and this is what you... If it's in health, you need to keep talking about it and telling them what you have achieved. By the time the elections are coming, they already have a picture of who you are and what you are about, and whether they want to continue with what they have. Of course, when you are seeking your office, you will give them your other projection. And I think if I look on the other side, I see a very big weakness. The most viable candidate there is Honorable Stephen Kalonzo Musyoka. But what is he about? You know, what is he pushing? Is he pushing health? Is he pushing justice? Is he pushing agriculture? What is he pushing? Is he pushing economic performance? No, I see him in court saying one or two things against government, and he disappears. The next time he'll appear in Kitui, the next time he'll appear in Machakos. I don't see him in the coast. I don't see him in Rift Valley. I don't see him in Marsabit. So what is he about? What is he pushing? And you see, at the end of it, when you are in office, you get a lot of heat because of the incumbency, because people want more. But at the time of making a decision, when you are inside that ballot and you want to make that decision, you will want to know, if I move from this person to the other person, what is this other person offering? And for me, the opposition, as I understand it now, is not giving us any strong, alternative. What we have is a government that is performing as far as agriculture is concerned, a government that has given us digital economy, and a government that, for us in the coast, has risen the blue economy. We never used to have anything about blue economy.
Then it should be easy for the president to get re-elected and not have to talk about it before he even get halfway through his first term.
No.
What is the necessity of this discussion about his electability beyond 2027?
No, you know, politicians, when someone says something that you think is important, or you get an opportunity, you give your right of reply, you know? But I should say this, you know, like the Shimoni port now, plots which were going for 100,000, now it is 5 million, 6 million, because that port is going to start operating in another 3 months. Let me tell you, Fred, we didn't have, our TDIP was not working in Tana River. Our Bura irrigation scheme was Kalas. Now, things are happening. Now, when you come to decision making, you will want to hear if the other guy is going to do better than what you have. But in many occasions, the story will be, jini likujualo, halikuli likumalize. And I'm telling you that any voter would want to know, I'm changing from this governor to this other governor. What has this one done? What is this one promising to do? I'm changing from this senator to this other senator, or women rep, or MP. I think incumbency has a lot of power, and you have to really, 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 really mess it up for people to say you will not come back. So for me, I'm confident that the president should be getting a second term.
Is the president himself confident? Because now he should be focusing on delivering on the things that you're talking about, agriculture.
Mr. Ruto, you can even see from his demeanor, he is not confident. He is not as confident as he started off. You can see, we can see, and we can read through him, okay? Because he's struggling to explain himself. You see, when you are result-oriented, you are result-based, you don't have to speak. You don't have to struggle to explain to people, because the results will definitely speak to you. If you've done a road, you don't have to come and say, I've done a road. People will see the road because they can see it. They are using it. If you say that the health system that you've introduced is working and is not painful to people, people will tell you. You don't have to explain yourself. If you say that the new funding model is working, our students at the universities will tell you. But when they're telling you this thing is not working, it is not working because they are the consumers of that particular service. Let me tell you this. I agree that with President Ruto, that the job was given to him by God. And he keeps on talking about God. Did that brief include losing our children through extrajudicial means? Did that brief include high levels of corruption like Adani? Did that include all those? He talked about the alternative. I can tell you, because we're all Kenyans. You know how the revolutions even in France happened, eh? And the king is a palace and is being told things are bad. But it is until last minute when they realize that, there's no turning back. We saw what happened in Bangladesh. We saw what happened in Syria. It is until the last minute when you are being removed from the palace or from State House like a Brukenge. That's the time you realize that things are bad. About the alternative, right now, there's a trust deficit. Completely. People don't trust William Ruto. Nobody trusts him, apart from Mongatana and a few fellows who are enjoying the trappings of power. But nobody, even a child who is yet to be born, has any trust with William Ruto. So what does the alternative? He talked about Kalonzo Musyoka. Kalonzo Musyoka can be trusted, and that's what people are looking for. Can we trust you? Can we trust what you say? If you say you'll give us a kilo of sugar, you'll indeed bring us a kilo of sugar. That you'll not bring us pebbles, okay? Now, people are looking at hope, restoration of hope. The last thing that you can take from a human being, Fred, is hope. When you take away hope from people, they become hopeless. They're as good as dead. So the alternative that is being presented is that we are going to restore hope in the people of Kenya. We are going to deal with high levels of corruption. There will be no more Adanis. We will not have a president in this country who is fighting for corruption. Adani, that we saw. Justice. That things, that people will experience democracy, will get back to where we were during the Kibaki times. Okay? So now, when you look at my friend Mungatana and his side, in fact, because they are so scared, and they have realized that this incumbent, even placed against a book, just a book, on the ballot paper, there's a book. I don't talk about other bad things. That there's a book, and then there's William on this side. People vote for the book because of the failed promises, and I've mentioned them before. Failed promises, Wi-Fi, free. Is it happening? It's not happening. Go to Rwanda. Things are happening. Now, listen. No, you're allowed. I painfully listen to Mungatana. I painfully listen to Mungatana when he's talking. Let him also go through the same pain.
Minutes to go.
Let him go through the same pain. What we are saying is, Fred, this man is struggling to explain himself. He doesn't have to struggle to explain himself. If he said, this is what I'm going to deliver, it should be seen that he has delivered. They are talking about fertilizer. Last year, instead of supplying fertilizer, they supplied donkey manure and pebbles. And we paid for pebbles and donkey manure. I am a coffee farmer. We never saw that fertilizer.
Can I say this? Dr. Karanja was the immediate CS of agriculture. And he was before the foreign ambassador to Brazil last week. And one of the things he was being asked is, you stayed for such a short time, what is it that you have achieved? So I want to tell Kenyans and Mr. Kisia that the fertilizer issue, which he said very clearly, and now these are facts from the CS, immediate former CS, the fertilizer is in the go-downs, waiting for the time to be acquired by the farmers. Unlike
last year or this year?
Wait, unlike previously when we had to import, you see? And when farmers are waiting for it, that's the time we were importing. This time we have it. Fertilizer was 7,000. It has gone down to 2,500. These are the facts that are there. And I want to say this again. Politics, you can shout all you want here, but Honorable Mr. Kisia, if you want, if you want to really get elected, you need to know that I can promise my wife that when we get married, I will buy you a house, I will do this, our children will go to these schools and whatever. Then we get married, and then in the course of that marriage, our business doesn't do well. Our business maybe flounders, or the job I was doing, I lose it in the way. Like how we lost the capacity to raise funds through the finance bill. Obviously, my wife would understand. And she cannot judge me if she had 5 years to decide whether to leave me or not. In 5 years, she cannot say, oh, you didn't give me the house, so I'm walking away. There are a lot of factors, and every leader... The concern is, Mungatana, because I'm listening to you. These things you're saying... You see, you are cutting me off. You cut me off, you don't cut off... I'm helping you here. So because you've always said... You are one-sided, Fred. You are one-sided, Fred. You've always said that communication... Can you allow me to... Can you allow me because you're trying to communicate the same. No, can you allow me to finish? You're trying to communicate the same. Shouldn't the president be focusing on that same communication and not talking about his electability in 2027? Let me say this again. If you marry your wife today, and your wife, you've promised her this and the other, and then somewhere along the journey, the business flounders, or you lose your job and you have to look for another job, you have a hiatus, you have issues within the family, the woman will not judge you because you didn't buy the house. The woman will understand what was happening. Like everybody knows that we've had to lose a very big capacity to raise finance, to finance the very promises, some of the promises that we gave. So we are walking a journey. And if you think because we didn't bring the UNGA to 70, that's when you're going to remove Ruto, I think you people need to go and think again. If you're in the opposition and you think that's the thing you're going to tell Kenyans, you need to tell us whether we reduce the prices from where it was at 250, 280 down to where it is now, about 100, 120, 130. You know, you will present your argument saying, oh, we are liars, we didn't do this and that, but we are working this together, and you can see the effort I'm doing. Even if it is your son in school, you may have set a target for A this term or B this term, but you can see the effort he's doing. When he ends up with a C from the D, or he ends up with a B from the C, you will not condemn him. So I'm just saying this free advice to those in opposition and hoping to take the presidency, that if their strategy is to come and tell Kenyans they didn't do this and that, I think there's a problem. What I would say, and I would repeat again, and because I respect a lot our colleagues in the opposition, if you want my seat, come and tell us what you want to do, not what I've failed to do.
Okay.
If you want to be governor, come and tell us what you plan to do for Nairobi, not what Sonko didn't do. Otherwise, you will never be elected.
That's the same question I'm asking.
You will never be electable. This is what I'm saying.
The presidential podium is talking more about his re-election in 2027. Is he getting a second term? Are they extending term limits? And not really communicating this. And I only have like 3 minutes, so I'll give you each a minute and a half for your final comments. You want to go first, or I give one?
Let me go first and say the government of Kenya is ahead in terms of putting the effort. Agriculture, we have seen. In the sector of digital economy, blue economy, we have seen. In the international sector, our country has been profiled very well by the president and by various people who are in position. I will tell you again, Kenyans can see that on the sector of the roads, we've had a problem because we were working on some infrastructure bond and whatever. But this year, again, they will see the roads being done. I want to tell Kenyans again and again and again, running a government is a challenge, but the effort is being made, and we, as a country, we are heading on the right direction. And I believe myself that at the end of the 5-year term, they will have something to look at and say, we did a good job.
And they can get a second term.
Fellow Kenyans, you have seen the pain that you've gone through because of poor economic policies that have been advanced by this government. A government that has used every opportunity to use Kenyans as guinea pigs. Kenya has been here. We've had sound policies, economic policies. Kenya has been thriving. But we have a man at the top who believes in try and error. So all the policies that they've come up with have totally failed. So as we prepare to get to the 2027 election cycle, and you can see already they are putting hurdles everywhere, so that these elections don't take place in 2027. What we are saying, we are asking our fellow Kenyans, is to judge this government. To judge this government by what they promised. If you promised to give Kenyans milk, please don't serve them with the chili sauce. Give them the milk. If you promised to deliver roads, please don't come up with the excuses. We have seen other presidents. President Kibaki never gave excuses. He gave us free education, primary education. Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta gave us free secondary education. We were hoping that this son of a hustler would at least give us free university education. Instead, he has increased fees. Even the hustlers, even the people who are in the middle class cannot afford. This is not a government that can be trusted for anything, leave alone their own promises. Right. Careful, Kenyans. Careful. You give these people a second term, we'll have no country.
All right. Thank you so much, Philip Kisia, leadership and governance expert. who also served as town clerk of this great city of Nairobi. And Senator Danson Mungatana of Tana River County was also served as assistant minister and in various capacities in parliament. Thank you so much for your very well considered opinions on the matters that we've been discussing. Of course, across all the dailies today, the picture of CS for Public Service, Justin Muturi, appears following his statement yesterday. What happens to him next? Well, we're just beginning the week. And we wait to see. Tomorrow, the vetting of the 3 cabinet nominees will be before the National Assembly. Could they make room for a 4th one, just in case there's a vacancy? We'll wait to see. After the break, Monday Blitz coming up. Shutterboy and Fred Arocho will be in studio. Chan, Kenya's preparedness for this continental tournaments. Chan and AFCON are the biggest conversation today. They'll be hosting none other than Innocent Mutiso, former Harambee Stars player. So yes, do stand by for that after the break. My name is Fred Ndimuli. Good morning.